Oh, some more people coming in. Fantastic. People have hung around all day. Last session before the final keynote, which I'm sure we're all looking forward to. It's a fantastic keynote that will happen at the end of this session. Today, well, this last session, we're going to talk about digital horizons and expanding those digital horizons further. We've got 4 fantastic experts on this panel. And actually what I'd like to do is maybe start off by, if you were able to provide a little brief introduction about yourself, Ahmed, sure. And who you are, and also a little bit about Advantari, what your company is.
All right. Thanks, Jan. My name is Ahmed Albalooshi. I'm from Bahrain, where you can see that in the picture. And I've been working in the banking sector for the past 24 years. And I was the group CIO of Al Baraka Banking Group, which one of their subsidiaries here in Istanbul, which is Al Baraka Participation Bank. 3 years ago, I said I don't want to be working in banking anymore. So I started my business, which is called Advantari, which I had the honor to sponsor the event as a bronze this week. And we provide digital transformation and cybersecurity services for our clients. I end up serving 75% of my clients come also from banking, so I'm back to serve them as well. So we do digital transformation in terms of consultancy, and the way we came to know about Digitopia is because of this wonderful DMI tools they have, and we use it a lot to communicate value and measure our clients' digital transformation.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you for inviting us here, first of all. And my name is Erkan Yaprak. I'm from Consulta. Consulta is a professional services and consultancy firm based in Turkey. We also have different offices all around Turkey and also in Amsterdam. We are more into strategy and consultancy services, and also we have tax audit and this kind of services. And I'm a little bit of mine. I'm more into BPM stuff, business process management, and we are trying to increase effectiveness of companies' processes by using different methods and also digital tools. And for the last 2 years, we've been partnering with Digitopia, and we've just started using DMI as a tool.
Fantastic. Thank you, Erkan. Kees?
My name is Kees Mensch. Thank you for being here. Very nice. The DCC stands for the Digital Capability Company, and I'm one of the co-founders, but the company has been founded by a management team who has done a massive digital transformation in a big Dutch company without the tools like DMI. So we did retraining of the people, introduced innovations, reconfigured SAP, all those things you would do. And we had our battles, political stakes, and when I saw the DMI, I thought, that was the kind of tool that we would have needed in those days. And DCC is in the manufacturing and pharmaceutical industry, focusing on digital transformation and solutions.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Tolga?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank all the audience to listen to us. So I am Tolga, founding manager of Digitalis. Digitalis is a 18 years old company focusing on the manufacturing industry. Our purpose is to bring efficiency, improve efficiency of the manufacturing companies through the use of advanced analytics such as simulation, optimization, and of course, as of today, artificial intelligence. So what we do is that to get more tangible value from the data that a manufacturing company collects. So this is in a nutshell what we do.
Excellent. Okay, so now that we've gotten the introductions down, we have some people that are obviously experienced transformation from within, but now working from the outside and enabling organizations, and obviously with lots of expertise across different industries. So very interested in all your perspectives. I think it would be good to kick off with a question for you, Erkan. Let's start with you. What do you consider as the most sort of relevant needs and benefits of running a successful transformation? I think in this conference, we all know we need to transform, but sometimes maybe we struggle to communicate the need for it to the wider business. Interested to get your perspectives on how perhaps you facilitate that and help that with your clients, and what you see as the most relevant needs and benefits to transformation.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I think is whether consciously or not, we transform. I mean, I think the thing is to have the capability of driving it in a conscious way. So prioritization matters, first of all, as Peter and Halil also mentioned in their presentations today. But also, I think transformation is more associated with digital, the word of digital, and since it has become a buzzword nowadays. I mean, the more we pronounce the name of the word, I think the less striking it becomes. So we need to define the meaning actually first of all, and starting small, I think the key, because there's a redundancy. I mean, lots of content, lots of thoughts, lots of vendors, professional service providers, academicians. We talk about transformation being digital, speed up processes, but we need to make it more concrete especially for smaller and mid-class size of companies. There are front runners, we know, banking companies, as Ahmed mentioned, telecom companies, and partially government companies. But I think we should focus more into middle class and like retail or manufacturing companies to make it more tangible for them and the more useful parts. And the outcome needs to be a positive impact on their commercial KPIs, especially. So I think having a cockpit like we have in DMIs and the strategy cockpit is a key. And for the leaders, especially for C-levels, I think we need to help them to understand the benefits of being digital and transform their processes in a digital way, because it's not something quick. You need to invest lots of time, and all of a sudden you may find yourself, I mean, wasting a lot of time and money if you're not sure enough to spot where to start. So I think it should be process oriented to have a successful transformation, because if strategy cockpit is a brain, the processes are all, I think, muscles or neurals. So make it more tangible and have an impact on our daily life as white collar or blue collar people, or I mean even customers. We need to think about our processes first and have an alignment between our transformation model and our processes. So that's why I think it's key to start small and have a clear track on it by using different kind of dashboards and tools like DMI.
Erkan, you mentioned banking being, at least according to our benchmark data, as an industry that is one of the leaders. Why do you think that is, Ahmed?
I think because, first of all, banking industry, especially retail banking, where serves the customers, we see a fundamental shift in the customer habits and behavior. And therefore, they are demanding such convenience from their banks. So if our customer says, if Google, Apple can do it, why you as a bank can't do it? So I think the change stems from a fundamental change in the customer behavior and demands that is pushing the banks to react. And that's, I think, the major force that's driving digital transformation in banking. And the other thing is it's a regulated industry. So we've seen a lot of central banks competing with other countries. So you see central bank of a country would say, we're more digitally transformed this country will say we're digitally transformed, and they're pushing the banks to be more digitally transformed. So I think these two key things, customer demand and habits, and the push from regulators.
Okay, yeah, two pretty strong forces.
Of course.
For sure, for sure. Maybe Tolga, you can comment on the manufacturing sector. We saw this morning that there is a growing divide between the leaders and the laggards. Well, why do you think that is, and what do you think maybe the laggards should be doing differently based on your own experience?
That's very true. I think that I can make an analogy here, like two families. Imagine two families who wants to go holiday. Okay, so both of them want to go, let's say, Bodrum. Okay, so one family jumps into the car and push the gas pedal and move, but the other family starts to discuss, okay, is there gas in the tank? Who made the reservations? Who buy the ticket to the hotel? So do we have the sunscreens? Do we have the swimwears? So who got the luggage? Okay, so maybe they go to the journey a little bit later, but on the way they see the other family struggling on the road, pushing the car maybe, or having some quarrels about which hotel they are going to. So I think that analogy really depicts the situation with these leaders and the laggards. It's very important to have a vision, but also to map out the risk factors or the required capabilities, or how are we in our current situations? Do we have the right infrastructure? Either it's be the data or the human resources or the existing IT tools. So I see that very seldom the companies do that checklist control before embarking on such a transformation journey. And I think this makes a company a leader or a laggard. So I think only the leaders will enjoy the journey.
You mentioned a link with human resources. We keep talking that digital transformation isn't an IT thing; it's a corporate thing. And Peter mentioned this morning how it's more and more important or imperative for the transformation leaders to join closely at the hip with HR leaders. Have you seen any of that trend happening? In that manufacturing sector, and if not, what are your thoughts on that aspect?
I mean, when we say human resources for digital transformation, we mostly mean the kind of people who asks the right questions, or at least has an idea about what's the problem is. So if you don't have these people who has this critical thinking, so most of the time the customers rely on what the vendor is selling them, or what the vendor thinks that this functionality is all you need. So this could be quite frustrating in the company's digital transformation. So the critical thinking and have this non-biased understanding of the objective and the requirements is a key, I think, human resource factor.
Kees, in pharmaceuticals, so Ahmed talked about the strategic imperatives being from the customer and from regulatory pressures. There's clearly regulatory pressures in pharmaceuticals, but there's not a direct ability to touch the customer. How do they navigate that? Because the customer is obviously such an important variable, and I suppose that's what drives the urgency with transformation.
But there's a big change going on there, because in traditional medicine, we could set up with this crowd, with all of you, a factory. We could make aspirin. You build a factory, you let it run for 10 years, you get your certificates, and it's done. But what you see in medicine is that it's getting more to personalized medicine, so based on your personal DNA, on your personal situation, or of a smaller group. That is giving a lot of pressure, because there all those paper-based processes and standards don't work anymore. So that is actually where the change is coming from in the pharmaceutical world.
Okay.
And that's also where, but it is hard because for people that are living in a paper-based world, they need to get first imagination. Because data is something else than paper. I mean, it lives, you can do something with it. Paper is, well, it's not dead, but it is almost dead. It's somewhere in a closet. So that is the big, for us, the big key to start.
Do you have any potentially best practice examples that you've seen where people have transitioned away from paper to more, the data side, leveraging data?
Yeah, we work in different industries, and what we took from other industries into the pharmaceutical industry is they were still very much silo-oriented. So they would see themselves as a customer and myself as, the supplier. The guy from IT, the CEO, he delivers. And what really is the change we brought in from manufacturing and from other industries is that people in the business can design a process themselves, and our role is more to guarantee that the process is sound and that it is compliant, because that's really important in this industry. And that's kind of a mind shift, and actually people do like it a lot.
Any questions from the audience? Murray, you always have a question, don't you? I'll come back to you guys. Feel free to raise your hand. We're keen to keep this as interactive as possible. So this is I'll let one of you take this more. Wanted to ask you a little bit more about sort of the complexity of transformation. Complexity seems to be a big issue for a lot of customers when it comes to, accelerating and accelerating and building real momentum with transformation. What do you think are, in addition to complexity, are the key barriers to organizations setting themselves up to accelerate and really generate that momentum? I'll start with you, Ahmed.
Okay, since you're looking at me. I think there are multiple dimensions that affects complexity, but I think the older the company, the more legacy the system have, and the more legacy the people are in, the culture aspects is very important. So I think the older the company, the larger the company, it is becoming very complex. And I think the culture element as well as the regulatory aspects add to that complexity. But I think the most thing is the board of directors or the leadership of the organization. If they cannot foresee a place for the organization in a digital world that is ever changing with all these technologies, AI, I think this is the most complicated things is showing that leadership, their position in the future, and how this cascade into a digital transformation that really impacts the whole organization, and all of their stakeholders as well, being customers, being the most important. So these are the aspects of complexity, the dimensions.
Do you have any kind of examples that you can cite specifically around that? I think, for example, one of the things we've seen in large organizations, regulated organizations, is that board of directors are yet to retire. It's all about being close to retire. So they're not very motivated or forced to change. Mm-hmm. And this is the most complex thing, is to understand, to let them understand that things are changing. If we don't change, then it's too late for us. And the way we've dealt with this in the past is that we start with the board of directors, where we need to ensure that we install or put tech-savvy board members that could at least within the closed doors of the board discuss the opportunities, but also discuss the challenges and what will happen to the legacy of the organization if we don't move and transform. Got that. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Maybe I can contribute from a different angle. And for markets like Turkey, a fluctuating market, And if a target company is more like having an umbrella organization company, I mean, less people having more decisions, and decision cycles and responsibilities, if not distributed well in the company, it is forcing us to, actually it's not making it more complex maybe, but as service providers, it's forcing us to treat in a different way. We need to show them, the decision makers, the value first, and should be more pragmatic. So that's why we need to customize our value offering, and whether it's going to be a consultancy service or a software implementation. So they need to see the value, because those people are struggling in the market for some years, so somehow they found a way to survive. That's why, I mean, you need to convince them in a good way by showing the value, increase the awareness by, I mean, explain the uncertainty, because there may be some concerns of unknown. So they also tend to protect themselves from the market trends sometimes. So I think it's not, again, not becoming more complex, but another scenario, and we face a lot in this market.
Yes, because I think the whole mindset aspect is a really important aspect of transformation. I think it's one thing to explain something and convince them in a logical way, but logic doesn't always really hit the mark, right?
Yeah, there you go.
We're emotional beasts as humans. So yeah, Kees, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think that just in addition to the others, what we see is a lot is that people are afraid, because they might not be as capable as they were in the past. They might have to learn something. There might be something, as a manager is less tech savvy, he might need, assistance from younger people. All those kind of things, all those emotions will be made very rational. And then in fact, most technical systems are quite complex. So if you start with IT and you start to explain it to a board, there will be a lot of boxes, a lot of dependencies, a lot of vendors. And that's also something new. I mean, for a lot of people, that it's kind of a difficult world.
Yeah. It's, we make decisions with our emotions, and so we have to appeal to that side of things. I can be told that I have a chronic back problem and I have to be operated on, but I can deal with it. I live with it. We all live with these kinds of things, right?
Yes.
But if the doctor says to me, if you don't do something about your back injury, in 3 years you will no longer be able to play tennis with your kids, I'm signing up straight away, because I can sense that emotional impact. So I think we need to, without creating too much fear, and that's not very nice, being manipulative, but it's the reality check of where we are and trying to appeal to that a little bit more, I think is really important. Murray, you had a question.
Yeah, it's connecting back to Peter's session this morning. Has the panel seen, or from the clients at the panel, work with, how are they approaching the AI challenge? Are they approaching it in any sort of coherent way that Peter suggested, or are they taking it sort of use case by use case?
Tolga, you want to take that one?
I wasn't in that discussion, so sorry.
Maybe if I want to comment is that I don't know about the other part of the market, but I work with financial services companies in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, and they are still struggling with digital transformation. Let alone now we're discussing something that I feel is even more profound change to the industry. So I think people are still stuck with digital transformation and reaping the benefits of digital transformation and accelerating digital transformation, and yet and then another problem or another challenge, which is AI. So what they are doing is now this really will we can use AI to emphasize on the importance of accelerating digital transformation. Because we'll say that if we don't have the right foundation, technology-wise, data-wise, AI we cannot capitalize on. So I think, yes, it's a problem, but we could capitalize on this problem to sprint our AI initiatives. And some organizations are already talking about AI strategy, which I don't think this is correct, because AI is one of the ways you can use technology to advance the business. And this is the whole essence behind digital transformation, is we want to propel the business forward, whether it's AI, whether it's automation, whether it's any type of technology. So I think a lot of businesses are struggling with digital transformation, let alone AI. Yeah. That's my opinion, and I'll leave the floor to others.
Yeah, what we see is a very use case based approach. And if that use case is working, people are happy. And then in the pharmaceutical industry, in cases where there are, illnesses that cannot be cured today, then AI plays a very big role in analyzing scientific data. So it's a kind of, strange spectrum of very commonplace solutions or very revolutionary, but then because, there's no other way to do it, there's no blocking factor.
Tolga, you can see you've got some things going on in your head. Being someone who's a data specialist, having those data foundations, I guess, are fundamental to AI programs.
Of course, it is very fundamental, but the thing is that to build that data foundation requires an investments and a constant cultivation, like a constant gardener. You always need to root out the bad data, you need to protect your good data, and with every change you need to make sure that your data is updated. So it's really like going to the gym, so there is never an end to it. So as long as you're end of the days, you will go to the gym, you need to watch out your diet so that you have a healthy life. So to cultivating a data foundation should be the same mindset. It's not just because that we want to do something AI. Even you do it or not, it's a healthy lifestyle to have your data foundation fit and healthy.
Absolutely. So just in coming back to what you were saying, Ahmed, around, AI is almost unreachable to some extent. We need to get the foundations right in terms of embracing transformation from the start. Everyone's heard the word culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And it's having sort of perception is an important aspect of things. I think I have a quote here. Actually, Halil gave me this quote recently, which I thought was quite striking. Changing somebody's perception is more difficult than splitting the atom.
Einstein,
correct.
Yeah.
So what must leaders do in these circumstances when there are so many different levels of perceptions, different ways of doing things, where the cultures are being heavily disrupted by new technologies and new processes?
And
go ahead.
I thought you were sorry. Go ahead.
I think, as I mentioned the opening statement, I think leaders needs to think about what they shouldn't do first, and what they shouldn't expect their team to do, rather than forcing them to do some specific activities, because we see a lot of, and the distance between generations are widening. I mean, people are being retired later than before, and the new generation comes in. So we need to work in the same environment for a certain amount of time. So we need to find a way. So I think the chicken and egg loop needs to be broken by the upper side, the sea level. And we see lots of time, I mean, they are the first barrier who's stopping the transformation, because they don't know, or they're not aware a lot about what is the cost of being transformed, rather than investing money, time, they need to stop doing something also by their end. So that's one of my first advice for them to being prepared to new era.
Yeah, but before I come to you, Ahmed, in case, have you ever had a leader who has said, no, this is not worth it? It's cost. You talk about cost. Cost is one thing, financial, but are there other costs associated with transformation to them, perhaps?
Yeah, they need, the changing the attitude, sometimes, harder for them to, than, investing money. So they can, at the beginning they may say you, yes, do everything, let's transform, this is the money, this is the time, but once you come up with a decision to be made by the others without asking their permission, maybe, just to speed up the process. So
do and then ask for permission after.
Yeah, so that's my idea.
Your thoughts, Ahmed?
No, I agree with Erkan, especially when it comes to dealing with leadership, board of directors. They are in a different mindset. At the end of the day, some of these companies are for profit, and the way we could talk to them is by understanding their priorities and maybe probably the legacy they want to leave behind. And this is where I think DMI plays a very important role. Not to bring DMI in the picture, this is because it simplifies things. It simplifies that, listen, this is the benchmark, this is what's happening, this is where you stand. Are you happy with your situation? And if not, what can you do? And what's your KPI for that? So I think the discussion with such tools really accelerate things forward, put things into perspective, and have a clear roadmap to where they want to go. So I think this simplifies the discussion a lot with the board of directors.
Yes, I've talked to a couple of CIOs. They feel it can help them provide the C-suite with a reality check.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of get them to realize, okay, this is where we are. And that involves leaders embracing transparency as well. And that's probably something that's often easier said than done.
Yeah. And I think because everything now is with the word of internet, social media, especially when you serve B2B or retail, it's very transparent or very visible what your competitors are doing. And this also drives the transformation perspective, because at the end of the day, you're serving customers, and the customer, they're asking about it, then you have no choice but to comply or go out of business or go into the path of declining in terms of market share, profitability. So these type of languages, these type of discussion, you want to have with this board of directors and leadership to convince them on how to go about accelerating data transformation, artificial intelligence, and all these emerging technologies.
I have a counter question. I recently had a meeting with a C-level executive, and he asked me this question. Okay, you are talking about artificial intelligence, the software, AI, and data, but they put a man on the moon without any computers and software. So that was a hard question to answer. So my answer was that, okay, if you have that team of bright minds and that dedication, maybe you can try what you want without any hardware or software, but do you? So I think that's something else.
It's an interesting question, but actually there were 2 programmers involved. So in those days, this was in the early days of the mainframe. So there was one guy who was understanding the computer language or the machine commands, and there was another guy who was a kind of specialist in how do you call it, those rocket curves. Those 2 did, calculate everything.
Maybe you can take Kees with you and you can explain.
So that was a surprise question. from that.
Now you have the
It
answer.
was a good-
Please.
But it sort of highlights that it doesn't necessarily take vast amounts of resource.
Of course.
I like to cite this example. I don't know if many of you know much about rugby, but Pierre, you'll be pleased I'm citing a rugby example, probably not citing the example that I'm going to do right now. Anybody heard of the New Zealand All Blacks?
Of course.
Of course.
I mean, that is, epitomize maximizing your resources. A country of 5 million people, yet they are one of the most successful sporting institutions in the history of sport with their winning percentage. And it just shows that if you mobilize the resources and you work closely as a team, you approach transformation without ego, you can really have an incredible impact.
Yeah, one of my kids has got some talent in rugby, but the atmosphere is also very special because one of the coaches stopped over in Amsterdam,
Okay.
and then they, skipped their flight for 3 days, and they're just gonna coach junior players for free. They stay with a family. It's a way of life.
Yeah, and that's the culture.
Yeah.
I spent a little bit of time myself out in Sydney, and we ran a joint venture partnership with a business in New Zealand. I got to understand the culture there, and the moment you're walking, you have a rugby ball in your hands.
Yeah.
And everybody has a go. Everybody tries, and so they're really maximizing all the resources and doing everything they possibly can to do well. And I think, if that's not inspiration enough for a lot of businesses, regardless of their resource, they should be able to transform. Just want to close out this session. Is there a couple of questions, I guess, for all of you to answer? Is what would you say are maybe, as we close out the conference, we're going to go into the final keynote, based on your experiences today or based on what you've heard and your own personal experiences, what would be the sort of top 2 or 3 key takeaways that the audience should really be taking back to their offices from today, and what should they be doing immediately, starting tomorrow, within their businesses when it comes to expanding their digital horizons? Erkan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, starting from the previous discussion, I think we first make the things more complex, and after that we try to simplify them. So that's the thing. I read a quote yesterday saying that accept less, expect less, accept more. So I think we need to simplify the processes as our lives. So I mean, turning back to your question, actually, I mean, what is the difference between a huge holding or a banking company using a top tier CRM tool with a butcher shop in your street, I mean, or a barber shop? It's calling you, asking you, talking about you, maybe your daily life, and once the client portfolio becomes huge, it's hard it's even impossible for the shop to manage all the processes. Then, I mean, that's the exact point. We need data, we need being digital because of velocity and because of the volume. So in all those complexity, my simplest advice should be not start from the most struggling part to your transformation journey, but also, I mean, choose a process, complex enough to satisfy your commercial needs and your commercial KPIs and outcomes, because you need to tie it up with your KPIs at the end of the day to keep you motivated, all your organization motivated to go further. But there should be a first phase, I think, starting the whole journey before. So my simplest advice should be like that.
Tolga, do you want to?
Yes, I think the key things to take home is that the AI is happening, but we should also have some, let's say, moderate in that. So we shouldn't seek AI in everything. Okay, so we have the we know that AI is happening, we need to have AI. But if you are hungry and someone is offering you sandwich, you shouldn't ask, oh, is there AI in it? If not, I don't want it. So there now we come to a situation that even there are some solutions which will perfectly fix the problem, just because that there is no AI in that, the companies may pass on it. So we should be really careful on where and how much we are in a pursuit of AI.
So I think the key takeaway would be we've listened to a lot of good recommendation across this day. And I think we should take the ones that are relevant to our organization, start a dialogue with our C-level executives on what's happening, and start with a quick one. So these recommendations, we start with a quick one. And I think generative AI is a quick one because there's something visible they can see and they can implement, and you can immediately see an increase of productivity. And so we can leverage these quick ones to sell the whole story of digital transformation. I think that's a good approach.
Okay. Kees?
Yeah, my key takeaway is change the emotion of communication. So if IT is slow, show fast, screen examples, engage the business. If the business is demanding, make as IT very clear that they are demanding. If the board is clueless, give them a feeling that they need to find that way.
Excellent. Any final thoughts, questions from the audience?
I think we had a question right there, but I'm not sure.
It's a very silent audience.
Very silent audience, yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't see.
Already answered.
I didn't want to interrupt the flow.
No, you go ahead. We want to keep this conversational.
Okay. It was, how do you assess the company's readiness for the digital transformation? Is there an evaluation for a company, or you just feel it and give that much transformation to that company?
Tata, we have DMI for this.
Oh, really? Is that in short?
I think DMI is a great tool to start, but I think you need to assess the capabilities of your company. Capabilities means what are your current processes, what are your current resources, what's your current technology. Are they geared to be suited for the new type of technologies that will advance the business? So I think you need to assess the capabilities of the organization and build these capabilities toward the vision and goals of your strategy. And DMI can assist you with the capabilities. Yeah.
So, a question here. So, Tolga mentioned about a question previously asked to him. I believe putting a man on the moon requires a lot of team members focused on one subject, one topic only. And I believe the current organization doesn't have that specific focus on them. So an organization has been established, a CEO on top of them, or a minister, president, and departments has been created, and there are processes on top of them for everybody to do their own work. How to manage all those people, and how to make sure all those people are doing their job properly. How to create a perfect operational excellence. And Erkan, you have mentioned about BPM at the beginning. How BPM plays a role in this topic?
I think it's a matter of governance. I mean, you need to identify first what to do and who's going to do what in what, and the certain sort of activities should be defined actually, and the ownerships of different activities should be defined. That's how, I mean, that's the only way I think you can reach your goals, by using optimum amount of resources. Other than that, you need to multiply everything: time, investment, headcount, capabilities, and you need to have an orchestration layer. I mean, on top, in the middle of everything. I think the answer is BPM.
Does that answer your question, or?
Yep.
Super. Thank you very much, everybody. We've run out of time. Round of applause for the panelists. Thank you, Ahmed, Erkan, Kees, and Tolga for a great session. Next session is in the main stage, in the main theatre, final closing keynote of the day. Thank you.